So thank you, Robert, and the team at Abojani for the invite, and also for all of you for honoring the invite to come for the forum. I think it speaks volume. I was very happy to see that when our MC asked how many people are under 40, we had quite a good number, right? That's a very good thing from my own perspective. And the reason why I say this is because I think it looks like we are finally coming from the situation where young people feel that savings, investments is for the people like me who are now at the, we call it at the departure lodge. You know the airport, how it is. And so we have what we call the departure lounge. I don't know, that age starts at when? At what? When do you enter the departure lounge? Waiting to board? Age what? 50? 40? So you need to figure that out, but you know what I mean. So it is good that we are thinking about savings, we are thinking about investments. We are now wanting to know how can we start planning for our retirement, because the one thing that we must all know, or we must all think, is that we are going to live in this world long enough to retire. Let us all start from that perspective. And even if we don't, because sometimes our maker has a different plan, we will have dependents. We have people who depend on us. We have our kids, we have our spouses, we have our other extended family members who expect support from us. Sometimes we support them 100% because of various circumstances. So we must think about all that and plan for it. And this is why I was very excited when Robert invited me. Actually, he told me, 6 months ago, quite a long time ago, we have an event and I want you to come. But there was no formal invite. So I waited, I was preparing and hoping I will finally be invited for the real event, and the invite came finally. So it's my pleasure to be here today. Now, I think today's talk is just about 3 things from my own perspective. And the first one is about financial planning. Financial planning. The second one is about estate planning. And I think by the end of the day, hopefully you'll have discovered the differences between financial planning and estate planning. And then the third one is, of course, the family legacy. Because we have said we have to figure out how to create a legacy, because after we have made all the money, and God will grant us that wish, how we plan for it and what will happen after we are no longer here in this world also matters a lot. Now, I am sure all of you, all of us, or some of us, we read the news, right? By whatever media. And sorry to say this, but when we lose someone of great reputation, high profile, be it on the business side or the political side or somebody well known by whichever perspective, what then happens? Can someone read for me the script? I want it. By the way, I hate podiums because I feel like I'm too far away from you. Do you allow me to come down? Okay. Now, but then I need my iPad. So what happens? Who can read for me the script? Someone has died, and then we all do the maombolezi, and then what happens? At family fights? Someone else? Someone else? What else happens? What? Side chicks with children? Mercy. Why are you assuming it's a man? You see now, her mind is already, this must be a man. Mercy. It could be me. See, hata mimi nitaenda. Lakini, you know me, I'm not a person of great reputation and wealth. So what else? What happens? Hey, kwani you don't read news? You don't read news? Court cases, children's quarter, everything. Is anyone writing this? You have seen people who had a lot of wealth. Do you have an example? And their assets are being sold, or they have been sold by the bank? Which other one? I didn't say that. Who else? Kenneth. Who else? Our former minister. Jacaranda Hotel. Yeah. Were those people who had made wealth? So what went wrong? Think about it. They became very rich, right? So your number one wish has been granted. But then what happens? So those are just part of the examples that you need. Read about those cases. What could have gone wrong? Because making money is one thing. Preserving money is another one. We talked about sustainability when we talked about the expectations for the day. Sustainability. Number 3, planning for what will happen during your lifetime. During your lifetime. Now, and by the way, you actually don't have to have a lot of money for this to help you. And I'll just give you an example. I have been the chair of a pension fund. And one of the things that, as a chair of the trust fund, has had to grapple with every single day is I've lost a member, unfortunately. And Mercy, that's why I say this, actually not just the men, even the women. There are benefits to be paid. And HR comes and tells me, we have a problem and we need the trustees to tell us how to distribute these funds. The first thing, and this now, if you are in employment, because it's very common for people in employment, you are supposed to register a nomination of beneficiary. Are you familiar with that? If you don't, you came in like Robert came when he was straight from college, maybe. Who was your beneficiary that time? Most likely, in most cases, your parents, mother, father, if both are there, sisters, brothers. That was your situation that time. And then when you come to your place of work, you meet this handsome, tall, dark, and handsome guy, or this very beautiful girl, and you decide to get married. Then what happens? Fatima, you just got married the other day, so this is for you. Then what happens? You have children. 1, 2, 3, whatever. God will bless you with that. But what do you forget to do? Very critical. Yeah, say, okay, now my circumstances have changed. So now my beneficiaries are my spouse, 1, 2, and it also happens that the first child is there because you have changed when you get the first child, but your subsequent children are not there. And we have had to decide, which is very difficult, very difficult. Because the parents are there, the sisters are there. Now, it is making the trustees to decide between your core family and your extended family. There are already disagreements. It is very hard for anyone to do that. Because it is not possible for anybody to make a decision as good as the decision that you can make yourself. Because you are well versed with each and every person. You know the relationship you are having with your mom, with your dad, with your sisters, with your wife, with your husband, with your kids, and all that. It's only you who knows how that relationship goes. So that is rule number one. If you are employed especially, or you belong to a circle, or circles also do that, even if they are not employer-based, please register and update those beneficiary forms appropriately when you are still here. Because you don't know when that day comes and it's too late. That's one. Are you also aware now that under the Companies Act, you can actually register a beneficiary, just like you do for a SACCO or a pension or insurance policy? You can actually register who you want your beneficiaries to be, your shares in a company. That provision is now there in law. Because usually before that then, it used to be just distributed as per your other estate, your other assets. Now you can actually say, I want Robert 20%, I want Nancy 50% because she's very dear to me, whatever. No one will ask you why. Utilize those facilities that are available in law or by procedure to plan so that you can save all of us the trouble if you go before us, that is. That's one. I'll now tell you a personal story. And this is very personal to me because it's a close relative to me, but I have to tell you so that you can also learn the lesson. When I started working, I have a close relative who was much more senior than me, apparent to me in a way. And he used to work, he has a very, very senior job as a government officer in Nairobi. Right from university, that was the job he went to, and he did it so well, he rose up the ranks. As he rose up the ranks, of course, you get the perks, you get a big house. So like when we were celebrating birthdays and for kids and graduations and all, everybody in the family, we all used to go there to that house because it was a fantastic house, 1 acre with a garden, sukuma wikis if you want. Yeah, you go for a birthday, halafu, you come out with a lolly load, a kiondo, a basket of maize, sukumas, carrots, anything. So it was good, isn't it? And of course you have the party. Everyone will fit there. Now, that time, the retirement age for civil servants was 55. Do you remember that? Until it was enhanced the other day to 60. I think they want to do it 65 now. Has that happened? Not yet, but I think there was a proposal and a push. So it was 55 then. Now what happened is my relative retired. When he retired, what then happens? Naturally, you have to vacate the house. You surrender the car. You surrender the personnel. If you had guards, if you had drivers, cooks. They give them cooks sometimes, Sometimes I wish I worked for government, There are too many perks. So, he has to leave all that behind. So naturally, if you've been occupying like a 5-bedroom bungalow and you have to leave, where do you go? Where do you go? Shags. How many people will retire to shags here? Hey, don't be too shy. If that's your ambition, just tell me. And then we'll talk. Oh, there's one hand there. You want to retire to shags? Why? Yeah? Because it's peaceful. It's peaceful. Wow. You know, I'm the village guy. To me, I say retiring to shags is another thing. Because what happens when I go to shags, by the way, the life there is very simple. It's very simple. You can live on $1 a day, isn't it? For real. And the most challenging activity that you will ever involve yourself in, forget about speaking in Abojani and I don't know, and everyone is expecting you to deliver a groundbreaking, speech. It's probably sitting in the church committee. Then now they are building something and you are figuring, okay, hii elfu mia moja itatoka wapi, Because when you call for a harambe, how much do the villagers contribute? 100 from where? Those are the guys who write in the book. You write in the book, 5 shillings, 10 shillings, and then you get a contribution of 20 bob, and you're like, yeah, thank you, 20 bob. 100 shillings are very odd on the list. So you'd expect my uncle retired to the village, right? Hey, but let me tell you also, I don't know what your experience is. All those people who have retired that I know to the village do not live there for more than 3 to 5 years. True or false? True or false? I don't know what happens because, if you are used to a challenging environment like now we are living in now, and then somebody tells you that the only thing you will do is wake up, drink a lot of tea, and then the wazes come, and the mamas come, you discuss what's happening in the village, and then you go home. How long can you live? You guys, you must thank your God that you are living in a challenging environment because that gives you the energy. Once you lose that and you're used to it, I'm not sure there is a lot of will to live. Most of the people die within 5 years. Go check your statistics. Now, my relative story. He had not built a house at home. If he had intended to retire to the village, he forgot to do what? To build a house. Because if today I plan to go there anyway, what will I do? I will build. Some people call it what? Dead capital. You guys are too complicated. It's a house. And if you're an MCA, of course you build a mansion that can stand very nicely in Karen and be counted. Yeah. You haven't seen that? The MCAs, the houses they have built out there. So he forgot to build. So what did he have to do? He had to actually rent a house in one of the very low-income settlements in Nairobi. Sometimes I even wonder, where did he keep his sofa sets and, beds? And because he had 4 kids, so you can imagine the amount of furniture he needed to store as he builds his house. Not as he builds his house, but as he waits for the NSSF money to come. How long does NSSF money take to come? The retirement package? How long does it take? Years. If you are lucky, 5 to 10 years. I'm sure you have relatives who have had that experience. And then when it finally comes, how much is it? How much is it? What is the highest amount you know anyone has been paid? 100,000. 100,000. Now, 100,000. What kind of a house can you build with 100,000? When I saw that, there's one thing I told myself, and I said, God help me, but I do not want to retire like that. For sure. Tell me what I need to do, because I certainly, maybe I don't know what I want, but there's something I know I don't want to retire in that version. Don't allow yourself to retire in that version. Ever. Because there is no justification. And you see, as we will come for Nini, we will just now start saying, after working for, where are you working? After pretending to be a successful investment planner and advisor for all these years. Can you imagine Robert is now living in? Where? Kangemi. What was the point? That is what we will say. That's what we will say. And our lives will move on. So that was my rule number one. I said that as my rule number one. Now, for those who have read my book, you will see that I've written about how I did, in a very kienyeji way, I must say, I did my financial goals. And the only thing I said was that every year, Byron, you've had this, I must have a project. But I did not say, now 19, actually I started that in 19. Hey, you guys are now wondering, hey, Kwani, this one is how old? I turned 55 in July. And that is why I launched my book on the 7th of July, because it was my 55th birthday. And I had promised my fans that I'm going to produce and launch a book on my 55th birthday. So that was my project of this year. So you better support me, by the way. Now, I said every year, from the year I believe, I was admitted as a lawyer, as an advocate in 1991. And I worked under somebody for 5 years. So I actually now started planning from 1995. And the first thing I said was that the project for 1996 will be starting my law firm, on my own, practicing on my own accord in private practice. And I did that in 1996. And I practiced for another 8 years in my own private firm before I went to equity. So that was number one. Now, some of the small things I had to do were just when you start a law firm. I mean, when my first job, can you guess how much salary I used to be given? Who wants to take a guess? So look at it. Now, just imagine, because you are not there, 1991, what do you think a qualified lawyer like me was earning? Maybe I should ask the lawyers. Fatima and Mercy are lawyers in equity. What do you think I was being paid? Huh? Oh, have I said that in the book? Yani, I told everyone in that book. I told everything. You are right. I was getting a salary, gross, 5K. You're shocked. And you're wondering, could you even afford to dress up? Clothes those, there was Gekomba. So there were these women who used to go to Gekomba, and then they would buy some very nice clothes. They were a bit ruffled. Then they'll go wash them nicely, and then they come and iron them nicely. You look at that shirt or that trouser or skirt, it's like it's come from that street in London. It's called what? Oxford Street. Yeah, and we used to be very smart. So we used to spend like 1,000 bob would actually buy you a lot of very stylistic clothes. So don't worry about the dressing. I was smart. So figure what you can do with 5,000. I joined the LSK SACCO. The Law Society has a SACCO, savings and credit, and I joined it. I can't remember how much I was contributing, but I was contributing something like probably 500. Because you see, by that time, I'm not alone. I already have 2 kids who I'm taking care of. So 5,000 is for me and 2 children. And I had a landlord to pay. I think the rent was like 2K. Half the salary is gone. But I made a point to save. I saved for a while, and then I said, I will now start the farm. And I kept on increasing the savings as, of course, now I started making a little bit more, and I kept on upping the contribution. Now, this is also a question of priorities. After how many years of practice do you think I bought a car? How many years? 8. So 1999, 2003. Please give me a bit more credit. Hey, 12 years. Hey, KBS. So I was doing KBS until 1998. You're very close. Because again, I said, I have priorities. My first priority is save a little bit. And then take care of my family. And then I will buy a car. That time there was only Kenya bus. So I held that chumba for Kenya bus for quite a while. Because that's what I had to do. Now, but from the money I saved in the SACCO, I was able to buy a car in I believe it was 1998. That was my first investment, serious investment. These days, those under 40 mnanisikia, I see you get a job, first pay slip, car. My niece did that, and I asked her, and she said, "Oh, auntie, these days you can't get by without a car." When you think we used to walk? We never used to walk. We used to take a bus. And we survived. And in any case, we were also very healthy because we would walk some distances, you know. We didn't need to pay a gym, you know. See, that's another saving. Why do you pay a gym when you can walk? So it's just a different way of looking at things. Okay? So I bought the car, 1998. And then now by this time, my practice is growing. I'm getting busier. When you work hard, people reward you. You get more money. Now, I started now looking at other assets. Using the same SACCO, because I was entitled to borrow more than one loan, I upped my contributions, and I was able to buy my first plot. Who wants to guess where? Residential. Plot as in land. Who wants to guess where? Karen? With a SACCO loan. You guys are joking. You know guys are joking. Syokimau? Syokimau was not there that time. Huh? Umoja? Where else? Gong. Kikuyu. Hey, I don't want to go to the village, by the way. Where? Roiro. Now you guys are saying all those places because that's where you go now. Eh? But I bought, but those ones are very speculative. Me, I wanted to build. And because I was already a renowned lawyer, I had to get a place where at least I would tell my customers where I stay, and they're like, it was on Gong Road, by the way. How many people know Jamhuri 2? Jamhuri 2. You know where it is? Impala? See, that's okay. So people ask you, hey, by the way, where do you live? And you're saying, oh, I live on Gong Road. So you don't elaborate. You just say, I live on Gong Road. See, they are not going to ask you Gong Road where. And you know Gong Road could also be Gong, isn't it? And it could be Dagoretti, Corner. It could be anywhere. But I just said Gong Road, near Impala Club. Okay, and it was good. So I bought my plot. And then I started building. Pole pole. So between 2000 and 2003, I built that house without a loan. Pole pole too. Because if you want that house like today, what do? Either you buy a ready-made house or you build. Okay? Now, so me, I opted to build pole pole. So that took about 3 years. Now, the beauty about this, and I just want to demonstrate, if you have a plan, you can actually do it. After that, I later on, by this time now, have joined the bank, because I joined the bank in 2004. I could take a proper mortgage that time at very affordable rates. So I bought another ready-made house. And then eventually I sold the first house and I reinvested it in other assets. So, I mean, you just work a plan that works for you, according to, first of all, what you are doing, what your means are, and what your future plan is. And of course, your areas of priority. But if you get your areas of priority wrong, then it looks like your plan will be wrong. That is the only thing that you must note. Now, you have made the assets. And then again, I'm sure you'll talk more with the professionals. They will tell you about assets classes and all that, and the pros and cons of each, depending on your goals also. But I think one thing that you must work on is plan your estate now. Have you read about Bill Gates? I'm sure we've all read about Bill Gates, right? Have you read about Rockefeller? The founder of Rockefeller Foundation? Have you read about Warren Buffett? Right? What do those three have in common? What do those three have in common? They have planned their estates very well, as opposed to the other cases we talked about. The Bill Gates Foundation, what is the asset size right now? The money at their disposal? Who knows the number? 113 billion USD. 113 billion, not Kenya shillings, USD. Rockefeller is about 5.7 billion. So they made the money, but then they put it in a vehicle that ensures that their families are well sustained for a lifetime, but then the excess is going to their legacy contribution. What will people remember you for when you are no longer here? That is the question that you must ask yourself every day. I will make money, but how will I be remembered? What are we going to remember Gates for? Okay, we'll remember him because he started what? Microsoft. And it has changed our whole way of living and thinking and working and etc., etc. But we are also going to remember all the good things that the foundation is doing. Long, and I can assure you that that Gates Foundation will last, outlive him. For how many years? Many years. So that is what we need to have in mind as we make our wealth. Now, so that's about leaving a legacy, something that people will remember you for, because you have done it in a structured way. Now, everybody in this room, there's nothing as easy as writing a will. Writing a will is just a piece of paper, 2 pages. And you don't need to have a lot for you to do this. So, hata kama is a few cows at home and a small house somewhere and a little money in the bank, an insurance policy, a what, please create a will and make known your requirements. But do it in a way when you are very, very sane, so that we don't all come, all us, I mean the wives and the side chicks, and we say, when he was signing that, he was in a coma. It is not valid. It will be nullified. Do it when you are sane and keep on reviewing it so that it cannot be challenged and you have sought legal advice. So one of the things that we do wrong is not seek proper legal advice when we are doing these things. And that's why you can see a lot of challenges are coming. But also make sure that the people you choose to work with are people who can be trusted. They are not accused of pushing their, self-interest in administering your assets and all that. So choose carefully. You can opt to do a professional firm. So I have a PowerPoint presentation that Robert and the team have. So I'm sure you are going to be able to get access to that. It has a bit more detail in a more structured way. But I thought for this presentation, it's better to just talk about stories and something we can all associate with. So I want to leave it there, and also want to tell you that I'm very happy, especially because you have taken the initiative, to learn how to do things in a better way. You have appreciated the shortcomings. You are learning from the mistakes of others, or learning from the good things or the proper way of doing things from others, depending on how they manage their estates and all that. So I wish you all the best with the conference, and I look forward to having more interactions with you sometime in the future. So thank you so much to the Abojani team for the invite once again. Asante sana.
Thank you so much.